Hello everybody, the Lawn Gnome is here. All I can say is that I am so thankful that my body knows how to process corn.
Yeah, Hollywood, you know I love you more than what I should. Yeah, Hollywood, well kiss me good. Yeah, Hollywood, you know I love you more than what.
So here I am reviewing another movie for you guys, and it's the one that everybody reviewed last weekend. So I'm finally getting on the bandwagon and reviewing Christopher Nolan's newest masterpiece, Interstellar, for you all. Christopher Nolan needs no introduction, and I knew that the minute I started seeing trailers for this movie and the more I started understanding what the movie was about, I knew that I was going to be impressed. And yes, I was impressed. Probably not as much as everybody else who's been reviewing this, but definitely impressed. It was a very interesting story about a very realistic and probably foreseeable future sooner rather than later. I mean, it takes place in a point in time where the Earth's resources are almost gone, due to abuse of the environment and new microorganisms coming to life and using the emissions that were created by man to feed, and because of that, caused the Earth and the human race to run out of food to sustain the species. Matthew McConaughey basically plays a farmer, although we all know that he used to be something completely different, but since there's no use for him, he has to provide the world with a large supply of corn, which is the only food that still has managed to survive. He suddenly uncovers an old professor of his who actually has formed a new version of NASA for the purposes of realizing that man was not meant to stay on Earth. We have to find a new home or the human race is going to be extinct. Let's talk about the cast. The cast is probably one of Christopher Nolan's strongest. I mean, Matthew McConaughey is coming off of the Dallas Buyers Club Oscar. Beautiful work, probably some of the best work that I've ever seen him do, and this is hysterical because I always go back to Dazed and Confused when it comes to Matthew McConaughey. Anne Hathaway, who has worked with Christopher Nolan before, as has Michael Caine, they also did a great job, but you also had a slew of other great actors that you didn't expect to really see, and some who you knew were going to do a great job, like Jessica Chastain. I love her in almost everything that I've seen her in, although I will say that her performance in Zero Dark 30 was probably the best I've ever seen. But you also had Casey Affleck, Topher Grace, and all of a sudden Matt Damon shows up. It was definitely an interesting cast of characters. We also had Mackenzie Foy, who we all know is from the Twilight movies, practically saying nothing, but in this movie I'm glad. I mean, to go from Twilight to a Christopher Nolan film, the girl's got some serious acting chops, and I really think that if she plays her cards right, she could become one of the best young actresses in Hollywood today. So let's see what she will do after this movie. Now, the plot, as always when it comes to Nolan's films, very complex, yet simple at the same time. Even though we're dealing with a lot of physics talk when it comes to things like gravity and quantum mechanics and the space-time continuum, Nolan always manages to make it in a way that the audience can understand it, because people love Christopher Nolan after rejuvenating the Batman franchise, and so many people, while lots of his movies were complex, like Inception, Interstellar as well, a very complex movie, but very easy to understand, and also, as most of Christopher Nolan's work, not necessarily on a character basis, but on a film basis as a whole, very engaging. This time around, I actually managed to connect with the characters because I've seen a lot of more human emotion portrayed through all the characters in this film, which is not something that Christopher Nolan has done. But one of the things that I will say about this movie is, it scared me. It really did. I was actually very scared while I was watching the movie, especially in the beginning, just because of this future that is pretty much inevitable unless we really take a stand and try to change the world for the better. Thank God Christopher Nolan did not put a physical date as to when this movie was taking place. Because if this whole event takes place 50 years from now, we are screwed as a species. But it seemed like it takes place a lot further in time, even though we're still using the primitive technologies. It scared me to know that we are really abusing our resources here, and it's time that we took a stand to prevent ourselves from having to try and uncover interstellar travel. Have we discovered it? I don't know. No one's talking about it, but chances are the answer is no, because I don't really know if anyone intends on leaving this planet in the first place. But if we don't make changes, and we don't try and fix this planet, that's what's going to happen to us. One of the few things that I also thought was extremely brilliant was the use of time in this movie. Just the fact that we had all of these events taking place in certain periods of time, and it's incredible to see what traveling through space, especially interstellar travel, will do when it comes to time. The end of the movie is pretty much what got me. I mean, I understood everything from beginning to end, but I don't know, to me it feels like he kind of did a little M. Night Shyamalan twist on his movie. I mean, I know that he likes to do plot twists, but not like this. This was a little too in-your-face and far-fetched to some degree, but in the end, I still was okay with how the movie ended. I don't know, a couple of things that took place were a little bit Alice in Wonderland-ish, but it is what it is, and Interstellar was definitely a strong film, but I don't think it was one of the best films that I've seen this year. Now, granted, there's no doubt that it will get some Oscar buzz. I would not be surprised if Matthew McConaughey gets nominated, or if Hans Zimmer gets nominated for the score, because this was one of his most original scores. It kind of gave you the vibes like you were watching a suspense horror movie. It had a lot of organ work in it, which was very unique for Hans Zimmer. I also think that Christopher Nolan and John Nolan may get some recognition for the writing of the script, but the movie itself is alright. I mean, it's good, but it's not fantastic. So I definitely think that it's worth seeing in theaters just because of the scope of the film and the wide-angle shots and the beautiful scenes from space. But all in all, I'll give it 3 out of 4. Thank you very much for watching, guys, and please let me know what your thoughts were on Interstellar if you've seen it, and actions speak louder than words.